And good morning. It's time for another Tom and Shane small business video. Welcome. Glad to have you here with us today. And today's topic, we're going to talk about how to get your price. How do you get your price? So, very important issue that, of course, is important to a lot of business owners, right, Shane?
Of course it did. Yes. Yeah.
we got to get that price. So, well, to start with, what we want to do, what we're really talking about is how to show the customer what you're worth. Because in some cases, you're going to show them what your product is worth, and in other cases, if you're an attorney, a doctor, a dentist, a veterinarian, whatever, you're going to show them what you personally are worth, your service is worth, and that's something they can't touch, feel, or if you're a carpet cleaner, something like that. So, what we want to talk about today is how to show that customer what you're worth. So we want to start with defining price. Shane, you were in the restaurant business. If somebody said, "Hey, I was over at Shane's restaurant the other night and had a great steak, it was $50," and I'm thinking, "Wait a minute, a steak most places around $30. Why is Shane's steak $50?"
Mhm.
Because the price is all I've got to go on, right?
Well, if in that suggestion, I mean, it's clearly there'd be more to the conversation than just the price of the steak for anyone to talk about, going there because, as you said, steak is a steak. But you walk into the retail food stores, Costco, anywhere right now, and you look at a package of 4 tenderloin steaks, and they're $45. So I mean, it's not off the mark that way or very far for people to realize how expensive meat is.
Yeah,
3 New York strips, $37 to $40.
yeah,
The most important thing in the restaurant business is cost to expenses. Obviously, labor and food costs the most expensive on top of what you pay for rent or your mortgage if you happen to own the property. So it's always a doubling process, and generally you get to the price through putting your business plan together and your costs within the business plan. Explain to you what you should charge for that steak. The other reason is the ambiance you can add to it, the type of restaurant. If it's a full service restaurant, you can add a price to it. Although then that includes a tip and the benefit to the servers. So yeah, there are several reasons that you pay a price that you pay at a steakhouse. And to a large degree, it's ticket average. That's always the first thing that a
yeah,
restaurant owner wants is what's the ticket average I need for someone to come into my restaurant and to make a profit. It's not just the steak or the meal. It also includes what they have to drink, trying to upsell them on appetizers or other food on the menu. And so it may not be $50. It may be 75 per person for
yeah.
them.
Well, I was just using steak as an example, not a, not a. But let's define price. And the reason that I brought up the steak situation is that if the price is the only information you have, then it's really hard to put a value to it. So if somebody said that steak was $50, it's hard to put a value on that when other places you've been it's something else. So there needs to be the customer themselves need to justify that price through information about why that particular steak we were talking about is $50. Maybe it's a special steak, or whatever. So, but the price of something is the
Well, it's not
value.
that simplistic. There are three basic aspects to a restaurant and
Well, we're not
determining.
talking about restaurants. We're talking about price.
I know, and price and determining price. It's ambiance, service, and food costs.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what I'm
those are,
saying.
those are three things. Generally, people know Outback because of the type of restaurant it is that you sit in and the size of the restaurant, what it looks like, because you've been to one or people have told
Yeah.
you, or you know what it looks like. It's not any different than Applebee's. There's a number of restaurant businesses that serve all the same type of food on their menu, but the price is quite similar too. It's those midline restaurants are looking at $18 as a price per person before they leave their place. So yeah, it depends entirely on the type of food you're having and the ambience you're expecting in the service.
All right. Let's leave the restaurant. Let's go to a hardware store instead. Because we're kind of missing the point here. The price is a perception of value to that particular person. So that's what we want to talk about today is how you present the price has everything to do with whether or not someone is going to buy your product or service. So it's not what you say necessarily, but how you say it. And the best example I've found of this is the Ginsu knives that you've probably all seen on TV once. Once I don't know if they're on very much anymore, but anyway, you got the Ginsu knives out there where they show you three or four or five knives, and those are they say they're $39.95 or whatever. And but if you buy now, you get the melon ball maker, the corkscrew thing, the paring knife, you get about six extra knives. So what you're actually buying is four knives for $39.95, and you're getting seven free. So now, if you want to say you got all the knives for $39.95, that's fine, but that wasn't presented to you in that way.
That's great.
Yeah. so so we need to talk about some pricing strategy, and we've got three options we want to talk about today, because different businesses have different ways of presenting their price to a customer. So the three options that we want to talk about, one of them is prestige pricing. Lexus, Lamborghini, Gulfstar Jet, caviar, truffles. There's a perceived, uh, because of those brand names, they carry extra value. They are worth more. Rolls Royce, for some reason, right?
Yes, to a large degree.
Okay, this is going well.
Yeah.
Well, our second option is probably the most important option, and that is the perceived value that we talked about earlier in the mind of the customer. I have to see an actual perceived value to me before I'm going to buy your product, and that comes from information that you give me about what your product or service is. So this one is probably more tuned to almost any business than maybe the other one we're going to talk about next. So
Well, at your point, what you're pointing out is obviously cost to the customer for a product that they've made a determination that they're going to acquire. Usually, when you're talking about prestige products, it's to a group of people that have literally no wants or needs because they have everything. So it's just an additional thing for them to acquire, and the value or the price of it is you're not even a measure of the decision making. So if it's a prestige product, it generally is one that people are looking at for the impact of being able to have the product. Now, do they have that because they want to tell their neighbors they do? Do they have that because they drove in one and found it comfortable? Do they have that because they like the advertising on TV, or they've thought about it all their lives and they wanted to spend $250,000 on a car? With regards to the other aspect that you bring up, it's a matter of a person's ability and their expendable income. And so that has as much impact on it worth or value as it is to what they're prepared to pay for it. People are pretty smart, especially in their class of determination, whether it's like the middle class or the lower upper class or even the lower class. They will look for prices, which is why we still get mailers in the mail for us to look at for food, things that we use every day, to hardware, things in hardware stores. So you're going to always have this example of a cross sale of products in as many ways as they can, which we've talked about, for the person to make a determination of not just what they're buying, but where they're going to go to get it or where they're going to go to purchase it.
Yeah. The third item we want to talk about is value in use. This one's a little tough for people because what you're looking at, uh, you buy, well, let's say you're a remodeler, and you remodel someone's house. They are going to have to see that value not today, but over time. It's going to make the property more valuable over time. Solar panels are going to save money over time. Uh, whatever the option is, when you weigh into it, um, it's something that you're buying for a period of time that's going to pay for itself over time, like a new furnace or air conditioner or an automobile or things, a delivery van or something like that. Does the does the return on investment over time justify the cost of making that purchase today, and you're going to realize the value down the road?
Well, that's right. And that's why your business plan is so important because it has to cover the aspect of this and what type of revenue that you have to generate to justify the expense. Tradespeople always have the opportunity in the case of what they do, because, as you say, it's not seen for you specifically to direct you to people that they've done work for. If you're a bricklayer or you do rock work, you give them addresses of homes that they've done and can go and check out. Same with carpentry, electricians and plumbers. It's hidden, so that's a little bit more difficult. So you go to the length of time you've been in business, and if people want, you can refer them to a couple of customers, and that makes it possible. But when it's something that is intrinsic, it's a little bit more difficult, like you said, like a vehicle. And again, a vehicle is something that's obviously premier to your business that you have to have it, then you will, and you have to allow for it in your business plan and expense the costs and make a determination. Just as in the case of the two worlds we talk about, is your business online in the 21st century, and is it on platforms that people can come to you through, or is it, as we say, a brick and mortar store? I mean, right there is a big decision at the very beginning, for you to have to make in that
Yeah.
regard. Yeah.
Well, price is only a problem if you make it one. That's uh, we we make we make buying decisions based on emotions, and we use logic to justify those emotions. If you've ever bought a CD to get one song, you know what I'm talking about. That you make an illogical decision because you want something, and then you justify somehow, logically, the price for it. So anything you can do to make the customer's life easier, cheaper, longer, less stressful, or any of those things, in most cases, you're going to have a sale at the end of the day. So the the old "what's in it for me" is what justifies the price. I'm never going to buy a fishing boat because I don't like fishing, but people do. I'm not going to have a hot tub, but people do. Um, I'm not going to buy Justin Bieber albums, but some people do. So, it's a matter of what you want and need, and if the if you want it, you can justify the price. So, don't use price to buy the business. That I guess is the lesson we're trying to learn here, is that you have a right to make a profit. the customer has a right to a quality product or service, and both of you should walk away from the table winners.
Well, that's absolutely that that's an overall view, simplified, a very simplified
Yeah,
overall view in the world of capitalism. I mean, a dollar store is not premier product, and people complain all the time about I bought that at the dollar store and it broke, but they still go back and make purchases there. So it price is important, but it always does come down to one ultimate truth: do I have the money? Like my grandfather said, you can have anything you want, my lad. Just bring the money. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter whether you want it or it's emotional or you need it or it's something for work. I mean, all these things are important, but if none of those qualify with the money in hand to make the acquisition, you can't do it as much as you'd like. So
yeah, sure.
price is very important, and of course, it becomes critical in either your professional life, your social life, or your personal life, as a simple response to do I have the money?
Yeah,
Can I open my wallet? Can I put a piece of plastic up?
yeah.
And ultimately, that becomes the deciding factor.
Well, final thoughts. There are two kinds of customers. There are valid customers and invalid customers. I can't sell uh, a size 6 shoe to a person that wears a size 10 shoe. They're not a valid customer. They may have the money, they may not. But anyway, they're not a valid customer for my product or for my service. So that's one of the things you've got to determine pretty quickly. And again, that's with asking questions, finding out information about the person. They came into your place of business for a reason. They think they want something or need something. We've talked about that. There are things you want and there are things you need. Food, you got to have food. You got to have water. You got to have air. You got to have a place to live, etc. All those things are needs. But do I want a bass boat? Do I want a travel trailer? if I if I have the money to do it, then yes, I'm going to go out and look at it. But you're going to have to convince me that whatever I'm buying is worth what I'm paying for it.
That's to some degree that's true. If you're narrow minded and you don't do any research or investigating on your own, if you don't look at the competition to see what the prices are, if you don't look for used or um, uh, a product that you can buy that's used and you don't have to buy it brand new, or if it's seasonal. I mean, why buy a trailer in the summertime when they're going to be more expensive and everyone wants one? Buy one in the wintertime when people don't, they want to get rid of it and it's standing out in the snow and covered in a tarp and they're tired of taking care of it. So, yeah, there's no question that the product and your match to what your customer wants is an imperative. But again, it's just a matter of the purchaser's level of knowledge, their level of interest, and as I said, even potentially the time of year.
That too. Well, that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be up to the customer to decide if it's the right time to buy. It should be up to you to, with advertising and marketing, let the customer know now is the time to buy.
Well, that may obviously be an objective for you depending on the type of products that you sell. Like you say, in the
Mhm.
restaurant business, if it's a
Yeah.
brick and mortar store, of course, it's a constant thing, and which is why one of the biggest advantages to this whole concept of what you're discussing is location, location, location. That's why Walmart is one of the largest retail stores in the world because they have location. Coffee stores, I needn't remind everyone that your favorite coffee place could be on two corners on the same intersection. So
That it can. Yeah.
it's availability. If you only have a small hardware store in your town and there's no big box hardware store, well, that's where you're going to go unless you want to go online
Mhm.
and purchase it either through direct purchase through the company or through a platform that sells everything online.
Yeah.
So again, access is important today as location was. So today it probably should be access.
Probably right. Hey, if you find these valuable, hey, don't forget to subscribe. Click the little subscribe button down there in the corner of the screen or below the video and ring the notification bell. You'll always be advised when we're going to have another podcast. And like us and leave a comment. What kind of business do you have? What kind of challenges do you have with pricing? Things like that. We'll be happy to entertain those for you. And we're also on Patreon. The link is in the description below. And if you'd like to support the show monetarily, there are a lot of advantages to doing that. We will help you one-on-one for some of our things that you want to do. So check that out. Those are all over at the Patreon. So by all means. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks much for watching. Thanks, Shane, for being here. And we'll see you on our next video.